I think Don has been a tremendous asset to the sport. I mean, he's been an innovator, and he's created. It seems like everybody follows his suit or follows his lead. He's the type of guy that comes out and tries different things. He keeps everybody guessing. He'll try to divert you. I think he's a very cagey competitor.
He's inspired me to do what I'm doing today. He is the backbone of the sport. He's been dominating the top fuel class for over 20 years, and when you beat the guy, you feel like you've won the race, and it might have been first round. If you beat him, you feel like you've won the race, so you're actually going to some of these races hoping to beat Don Garlits.
It was in 1983. He came back and won Indianapolis, and then came back and won Phoenix and won the Pomona World Finals. So he won the last 3 events that particular year, came back, won World Championship the year after that, and backed it up again this year, the only man to do that. So I would say that, yeah, he's the king of the sport. He's the king of kings.
The king of all the new inventions and all the new things. I mean, he's the king of the class. He's the king of everything. He's everything that you've ever wanted to say about a guy. He is him. He's got every kind of mode you want, and he is every one of them. They're all him. They're not fake. It is him, and he is one heck of a drag racer. Everything that they talk about. He is the swamp rat. He's a mean guy. He's a great guy. Oh, let's have a tool. Get this turkey ready to go here for the session. We need no more than 578s. Well, tell you what, first time I ever set 2 mags in it, the points closed right up. You see that fire come out of that thing, burn my arm?
Yeah.
Did any of it ruin the cockpit?
No, I got lucky. It's amazing.
I tell you, I was looking over at the spectators when that thing popped last night. Ooh, they come off the ground about a foot over there.
We need to write a little letter.
Along with me.
For a mag guy right on it.
Flagship or organization. Nothing but the best.
What's the NITRO on that?
572. The Greek, you may not want to hear this, the Greek is qualified ahead of you. That means Chops is smarter than you.
Well, that won't last long. Chops got married, did you know that?
You kidding?
I wonder if he got married as pork chops and
Somebody told me his wife had 4 kids already.
Yeah.
Think after this, think all this water on this track that maybe will take a little clutch out of it.
Well, it was plenty safe last night. I'm gonna wait on that to see. Go a little closer to the race.
Well, you know, the question is, you want to go up there first and test the track. You want to follow the guys and maybe get the oil down like Coletta put down last night.
Well, that's true.
It's always a gamble, ain't it?
It's always a gamble.
The Swamp Rat, an affectionate nickname given to Garlits over 25 years ago. He built his reputation on a foundation of hard work and clean living, and he's done it pretty much on his own, without the aid of a corporate sponsor. He's built and wrenched his own cars for 35 years. Does the big buck competition from the West Coast make him feel like a loner in the sport?
Well, sometimes. I guess that's why we still build our cars down there in Florida. The Swamp Rats, still call them Swamp Rats after all these years because, well, it's always, they still have all the nice manufacturing facilities on the West Coast, and a lot of the good racers do come from out there, but we're down in Florida almost all by ourselves, and it's always been that way, and I guess it'll always be that way.
And how does it feel to consistently beat the Californians?
That's a good feeling, naturally. I mean, that's the greatest, to be able to go out there and win right in their own backyard.
And how long has Big Daddy been racing and wrenching top fuel dragsters?
35 years.
What drives him in such a competitive sport?
Well, that's a good question. I like the sport. It's highly competitive. We build our own cars. We don't buy too many pieces. And you put all that together and you go out and race it, it's just kind of exciting, and it still holds that excitement for me, and I guess that's what keeps me going even at age 54.
Racing over 30 years without a major corporate sponsor, was the help from Super Shops a big boost?
Yeah, this is the first major sponsor that we've ever had in drag racing. We've always run on match race money and what we were paid, but the Super Shops is our deal. It was 85, 86, and 87. It's been a real good relationship.
Is a major sponsor absolutely necessary in top fuel racing?
You bet. Having a sponsor means you can perform, and not having one means you can't perform. It's as simple as that. Because going fast equates to having lots of money.
It's a well-known fact that you will not put a beer sponsor on your car. Wouldn't that give you the most money?
Oh yeah, they give you more than the Super Shops will give you. If you want to put a beer sign on the side of your car. I'm a little bit opposed to that though.
And why?
Children mostly. They look up to the heroes. There's not many heroes in this business, and the children look up to the heroes, and I'm one of them. They like me, and I'd hate to think that I was the cause of some child stumbling or getting hurt, maybe driving a vehicle under the influence of alcohol.
Do you ever feel the pressure of having to always be an inspiration and a role model to children? Does it obligate you?
Am I obligated to the children? You bet. The parents are obligated to the children. The church is obligated to the children. The heroes are obligated to the children. The government is obligated to the children. The children is all we got to go on. Can't do much with the adults. They're already set in their ways. The children are where it's at.
You raised your own children in a Christian manner. Do you feel responsible for the children of the world?
Well, I think so. Like I say, I just don't want to be the one that causes one of these little ones to stumble. And I mean, I look at it like this, you know, in lots of instances, the children will do more what the hero is exploiting or advertising than they'll mind their own mother and father.
On the side of Swamp Rat 30 reads the names Garlits and Malone. That's Art Malone, Don's closest friend and racing partner. They've been friends since childhood. It was Art who stepped into Don's life twice to keep the Swamp Rat racing. You're his oldest and closest friend. What's your feelings about Don Garlits?
Well, my impression of Don, pure and simply, is that he's one of the toughest guys. He's got more stamina. He gets up early in the morning, stays up later at night than anybody I know, and that's his big success. He works harder than anybody in the sport. It isn't necessarily he's all that much smarter. There's a lot of guys that are plenty smart. Don leads a good life, and that, I mean, he takes care of himself. He eats well. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. very hard to beat twice in a row. It's just impossible to beat 3 times. He just will work that hard. Can't hardly beat him.
Makes go off a different time?
I guess. It went up high on the eye idle, and I clicked them off, and it snapped back, didn't it? I don't know what would do that. Still had a lot of fuel going.
I got a leak between this black block and it's coming right out of here.
Is that the drip down there?
Yeah.
That big,
It was running right down the pump and then out there.
Okay.
Swamp Rat 30. Garlits and Crew Chief Herb Parks prepare the updated streamliner for testing.
Oh, like that.
It leaned out and
It wasn't just enough.
The team, in quest of an unprecedented third consecutive NHRA World Championship, calmly work out the bugs. The car was the first to exceed 270 miles an hour in its debut at the '86 Gator Nationals and smashed the all-time ET record at the Summer Nationals. Big Daddy may be 55 years old, but his regimen of diet, exercise, and clean living have taken 20 years off his life. For all intents and purposes, he's a young man. He spends the month of January getting ready, trying new ideas to perfect the car and solve any problems which may occur before the first major NHRA race of the season, the Winter Nationals. 1987 will be a very competitive year in Top Fuel racing, and Garlits once again faces the field alone. Drag racing is a very expensive sport, and the competition is the toughest it's ever been. With names such as Gwynn, Amato, LaHaye, Pastorini, Ormsby, Coletta, and of course, Shirley, this will be a trying year for the King. Time is my worst enemy, quotes Big Daddy. Every second is spent trying new ideas to find out what works and what doesn't to get the best combination for Swamp Rat 30. The car is capable of exceeding 280 miles an hour, and Garlits feels this could be the year. He's broken all the mile-per-hour barriers in his 36-year career, and this year should be no exception. rare blower explosion. The supercharger, mounted on top of the 3,000 horsepower nitro-burning aluminum racing engine, violently explodes in a puff of smoke. Luckily, it was Big Daddy's invention of the rear-engine dragster that made such a horrible experience safe for the driver. If this was an early slingshot, he may have been killed. His crew's next task is to go back to the trailer, take the engine apart, to find out what went wrong. The test session allows the luxury of time to correct these unforeseen problems. Without the advantage of an onboard computer like the other teams use, Garlits has always been the walking computer. His competition may have the new technology, but it's nothing more than what's in Big Daddy's head.
Now, if that's the case, that's different. If it didn't show that, it's different. It opened on the intake side, closing, shot fire in the manifold just under normal operation.
If there's no marks on the piston, that's just what. Now, if there's marks on the piston, we know what it did there. Then she floated it out. She got too hot. I'm telling you. I don't think it was that. I bet it wasn't. Because usually I come out of it. It really wasn't. It wasn't doing that much. You can see your track is perfect.
Always the innovator and inventor of new ideas in the sport, Garlits continually progresses with the enthusiasm of a rookie.
Well, I was out past that, right? I was actually, I felt it was out there. At the 60-foot mark. It shook here somewhere.
Right there.
Yeah.
Shook just right as you were going into the 60-foot. But it wasn't that bad. It started getting
right in there. I pushed the button something. Right there.
They've worked together for over 10 years and won many championships in top fuel racing. 1987 promises to be a very productive year if the bugs can be worked out in pursuit of their third world title.
You can see the short distance. It's only 30 feet.
Strategy is planned for the Winter Nationals as the pair discuss how they're going to set up the car for the opening race of the season. The camaraderie and closeness of the Garlits camp as a family unit is the main ingredient of a winning team. Although mechanical setbacks may hinder them at times, the team always rises to the occasion as the ones to beat.
Normal can.
We'll have the clutch on there with it, but we want to put that in it. Do it all front.
Blower explosions are just a part of the many close calls in Garlits' career. He has escaped injury many times, as recently as last year's Summer Nationals wheel stand.
No, I ain't doing nothing here. In fact, I'm fixing to go home.
Is today your birthday?
Yes, today's my birthday. I'm going to my mom's for my birthday.
The wheel stand was his most recent close call. The outcome was the same. Big Daddy's number hasn't come up yet.
I didn't get hurt.
He's been involved in some of the most spectacular accidents in the history of the sport, especially the Englishtown wheel stand. Does he ever fear getting back into his car after a crash?
Well, I'm not afraid. I have a lot of respect for my cars, but you can be hurt in these cars. And sometimes after you've had a real bad accident, it's kind of tough to make that first run when you come back. You're strapping yourself in the car and you're saying, what am I doing here? The wheel stand at Englishtown was part of stupidity on my part. We didn't judge the conditions correctly. The car was light in the front because of excess usage of fuel. The track was exceptionally clean from the rain, and we put the power in it to back that 534 up, and the car went straight up before I even had a chance to do anything about it.
Garlits was racing against his biggest rival, 24-year-old Darrell Gwynn, also from Florida. Darrell, he's the new kid on the block in Top Fuel. Garlits calls him the Wolf because of his hunger for a world title. Darrell tells what happened.
The car just slowly going up, and then all of a sudden it kind of took off. And I saw that whole thing happening because he was on a record pass. He was fixing to reset the national record. And if it wasn't for that wheel stand, he would have. Matter of fact, when he got to about halfway, I got real concerned. And it almost messed my run up because I was so concerned about his condition that I got the chutes out early and spun the car out around the return road. And I was climbing out of the car and heard the grandstands just go nuts when he got out of the car, so I knew it was okay. That was my main concern.
Don's wife and family have suffered through many horrendous accidents. Has it taken a toll on their lives?
Well, I'm sure it's hard on them. I know it's hard on my wife. She lives through these things. Fortunately, she's never been at the track on one of these terrible crashes. She's always been home. She hears about them over the phone. The family, you know, have always been after me to quit racing because of that. They say I've reached all the goals that's necessary, won all the prizes, trophies. But they don't understand how competitive this sport is and just exactly how much I love it. But they probably have some idea of it because they do allow me to continue.
Garlits' daughter Donna is his #1 fan. She wasn't at the Summer Nationals, but remembers how she felt when she viewed it for the first time.
Yes, I remember explicitly. I was sitting in our living room, and it was the first time he played the video for me, and he's got one that shows all angles of it, and my heart just fell to my feet because he's been in a couple really bad wrecks before. One I wasn't even born, the other one I was really young, and all I remember was a phone call, my mother going, "Oh, God." And my heart just dropped when I saw that wreck. I couldn't believe he got out of that just so minorly injured. It was amazing. I showed it to all my friends today before we came to the races, and they were just stunned.
Did you tell him to stop racing after you saw that?
No, because I can't tell my dad to do anything. He does what he wants. We tried that once back in the 70s. We said, please stop, please stop, please stop, and he went back and did it. So we threw the towel in on that one.
So you're pretty used to all this now?
Yeah. I don't ever think about him getting hurt. I really trust God to take care of him, and I really believe in you know, his crew, and they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing with the car, and I think what he does on a drag strip is a lot safer than me driving down Dale Mabry during the rush hour in downtown Tampa. So I really trust what he does. He's a very sincere person. He doesn't go out to get people. He goes out to accomplish something. And it's something that he's accomplishing for the Lord and accomplishing to show the world that you can be good and be a good person and still come out on top. A lot of people in today's society think that if you're not of the world, you're not going to be anything. If you're not going to eat them up and spit them out, you're not going to be anything. And Dad has a totally different attitude about that.
How do you feel about that, Dad?
I love that coming from her. I didn't know she felt that way. I didn't know she was that into it. It's quite a compliment.
Has that more of a satisfaction to you than winning a race?
You betcha. Because people are everything. There's going to be races from now on. They'll probably have one next week somewhere. But, you know, you only got one daughter, one wife, one mother, one father, one God.
If you had only one wish that could come true for your father, what would it be?
A wish that I could be his successor. There you go. Someday I want to beat my daddy.
Match racing. It takes Big Daddy back to his roots, when this type of racing was the way he made his living. This is Art Malone's DeSoto Memorial Speedway. Another match race and another win for Garlits as he and his crew head for the pits to get ready for the next round. He's been driving top fuel dragsters for 35 of his 54 years. He's called a legend in drag racing, a term he humbly accepts. This is Big Daddy Don Garlits. But Garlits is a lot more than just another top fuel drag racer. He is the sport. He's the show, the speed, the power, the leader, the king. Don Garlits started racing in 1950, won his first major race in 1955, and from that point on, he began to write the record books. His innovations in racing firsts are impressive. He was the first dragster driver to use motorcycle-style wire wheels way back in 1955. Garlits was the first dragster driver to wheel a machine over 170, 180, 200, 240, 250, 255, and 265 miles an hour in a quarter mile. Big Daddy's mechanical innovations are much too numerous to mention unless the writer has a book in mind. But some of the most important include wire wheels. He was the first to experiment with a longer wheelbase chassis, and wings and spoilers. Also, he was the first to use port injection, and most important, he was responsible for the design and function of today's rear-engine streamlined top fuel dragsters. In drag racing, there's no second chance. All is won or lost in a single heartbeat. Being a champion is one thing. Being a champion over decades after overcoming all forms of obstacles and close calls is something else. During the heat of the battle, there is no question that Big Daddy Don Garlits is a man to beat. His intimidation factor is very high. You only have to wander through the pit area of a major drag race to understand. Both young and old are drawn to the pits to watch the old man at work. To this day, Big Daddy wrenches his own car along with his loyal and devoted crew chief, Herb Parks.
Don, have you always done your own wrenching?
Since the beginning, I turn my own wrenches.
What's your opinion of all these drivers that don't wrench their own cars?
Well, that's their own little problem. They're the ones that have to be sitting in that thing when it blows to bits. And a few of them do that. That's not just idle jest. Not that mine doesn't ever blow up, but it doesn't blow up as much as the rest of them. There's something about a guy that plants himself in it and pulls them straps down over his shoulders just a little bit more concerned than the guy standing out there looking at him. He can always go get another job. He might be buying the farm.
You mean there'll never be a day where you let Herb do all the work?
No, sir. You can bet on it. Easy. Let it go too soon there, Al. Herb didn't have it.
Is it the same procedure every time you come in the pits after a run?
Yes, it is. They'll do the same thing. We didn't have any damage that time to speak of, but we still have to look at everything because you never know when there might be damage. We had one wrist pin was a little seized in one of the rods. We had to clear that. It's the only damage we had. Of course, we're not making any power right now. This thing is a slug. My 75 car will be whipping this one right now.
What's the main difference?
This car is too heavy and it doesn't make enough horsepower. We have not reached the full potential of this car.
How fast do you think this car can go?
This car should go 280 miles an hour in the 520s, and until it does that, we're not going to get a new car. We're going to learn to use the equipment we got effectively, efficiently.
What kind of preparation do you do between rounds, Herb, in the pits?
Well, it comes completely apart, as you saw last night. We take the engine completely apart and run all 8 pistons out of it. You feed it what it needs and put it back together again.
How long does it usually take?
60 minutes to 90 minutes.
And what do you do about those times when you're really under pressure to get to the line?
You do it quicker, that's all. Put it in high gears, like everything else. Are you gonna get that finished today, or?
It's done, Dad.
Okay. Don't be throwing my chrome-plated wrenches around either.
Those trick titanium bolts.
The trick titanium bolts.
The car is now ready for the second round, and the joking and the kidding around is replaced by serious competitive racing. There's a time to play, and there's a time to race. This nighttime race is against former NFL quarterback Dan Pastorini, who compares his fellow racers with his opponents on the gridiron.
My contemporaries in football were very competitive people. When it came time to play, we played hard and played hard against each other. But then when the game was over, we'd go out and have a couple beers and talk about the game, and it's over. When it's over, it's over. It's nice when you can compete against your friends, have that competitive spirit, but also have the camaraderie amongst each other.
The long black streamliner is an intimidating opponent in the other lane.
You meet a guy like Garlits who's so intense. He's a different kind of person at the racetrack. You see Don away from the race car, and he's real personable, but when you get out at the racetrack, he's very intense, and he doesn't seem very personal. A lot of people misread that. They think he's kind of cranky or whatever, but he's just intense, and I respect that in a man, and everybody has their own way of doing things, and you have to give them their space, so to speak.
Garlits has raced many opponents in his career, and he's never taken any of them for granted.
When he first came into sport, we thought it was just a guy out having a good time, but Pastorini really has gotten into it. He's working hard and he's run good. Once Dan actually got into the sport and started running, we realized he was serious.
He's got a tremendous family organization. The whole crew is just a class act and a good bunch of people. He's a tremendous driver, and he's probably got the fastest car out without a doubt right now. Everybody's trying to catch him. Very, very intense competitor. One of my all-time favorite people.
You're not supposed to talk about what you're going to do. You're supposed to do it. And my early days of drag racing, when I ran around with the fellas that, when I got into drag racing, I'm not talking about the street racing days when we were just bumming around Tampa and getting in trouble and racing on the streets. I'm talking about when we actually thought we were bona fide hot rodders, and this was after my wife and I were married in 1953. I had some good friends down in Tampa that I palled around with, and that was our slogan. We didn't talk about what we were going to do or who we were going to outrun. We did it and let them talk about it afterwards.
I can remember times when we went into what was then Drew Field, which is now Tampa International Airport, and would line up 6, 8, 10, 12, however many they had. and race until somebody was declared the winner.
So 6 in a row would go?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you had a piece of concrete there that might be a couple hundred feet wide and 8,000 foot long. So we just line up side by side, and whatever we thought was a quarter of a mile, if it was a half a mile or whatever.
Isn't that kind of dangerous, though?
Well, I mean, it not only, well, I don't say that it was dangerous. It probably was very illegal. The airport authority, I'm sure, didn't appreciate it.
Like the James Dean movie Rebel Without a Cause, that was our life. I mean, he was our hero. And we tried to dress like him. We tried to act like him. We drove our cars like him. We wanted our cars to look like him. We did everything that we could. And then, of course, the Hot Rod magazine also, it reflected. If you look at those 50s and the 51 issues of Hot Rod magazine, you'll see the guys in there look like James Dean. And so those were our heroes.
But one thing you need to know, that in Tampa in those days, there wasn't no traffic on the streets, hardly at all. I mean, we could go out and shut down a nice piece of asphalt somewhere and race for 30 minutes to an hour and never stop over a half a dozen cars. We would send a guy a couple or 3 miles down the road, stop the traffic, and we would run however many cars we had through, be it 6, 8, 10, 12 cars, and what we would have would be a stopwatch. And the guy on the far end, at the end of the quarter mile, which was a measured quarter mile by the speedometer or whatever, would have the stopwatch. And he would look up the starting line, and when the guy would pull the flag, it might be a shirt, but when he pulled that, he'd start the watch, and then he'd turn around when they come by, he'd stop the watch. See, so we got elapsed time.
Yeah, when the City Fathers up at Zephyr Hills, Florida, allowed us to use the World War II training base runway to run our hot rods on once a month, that was a major step forward in drag racing in this part of the country. And all of us guys would go up there when they had those races, and we'd stay till dark. And I used to take my Ford convertible up there. First I went up there with the Mercury engine in it, and then later I put the Cadillac engine in it. And this went on for a couple of years, clear into the end of 1951.
I really had never been around any type of racing, or in those days it was racing on the street, it wasn't organized racing. I really didn't know. He would tell me, oh, you wouldn't have liked me if you would have known me when, and I really didn't know what he was talking about. And we went, when we dated, we did such a variety of things. We danced a lot.
All square things, right?
All square things. We went to the beach. If you live in Florida, you go to the beach a lot. We would go bowling, just a
picnicking,
number, a variety
over
of things.
the Bach Tower.
And then after we got married, my first drag race that I really had ever been to, he lured me there by saying we were going on a picnic to Bach Tower.
That was at Lake Wales, wasn't it? You went up there.
We really were going to the Bach Tower. It's just that when we went down that Highway 60, there was this sign that said drag races. And it really wasn't planned. I didn't know there was any drag race over, but when I saw the sign drag races, I couldn't resist going in and see what had happened in the last year. See, a year had elapsed, and I had not seen a drag race or seen a fast car, because when I met Pat, that was it. When I sold the Ford with the Cadillac in, I never went to another drag race. And so I was interested to see what was down there, and it had changed considerably.
This was really the first organized race in the state, wasn't it?
It was much better than like at Zephyr Hills. This was at Lake Wales, and they had starters and officials, and they were giving trophies. They'd never given a trophy at Zephyr Hills. The guys just raced for the fun of it. And so we entered the 50 Ford in the stock division and won the very first trophy.
His first trophy was this
and
tall.
I'll tell you, we loved it.
sunny Florida and the early days of drag racing, when the sports legends were being born. Names such as Charlie Hogan, the terror of the Southeast, who reigned over the drag strips for years. Unbeatable and intimidating, Charlie Hogan was known as the King. It took Garlits, with the help of the Strokers Car Club, 3 months of racing Charlie and losing before he finally unseated the King. This established Garlits as a foe to be reckoned with. Before this major accomplishment in his career, Garlits was courting his bride-to-be, Pat Beaker, and had given up drag racing in fear of losing her. But was he surprised at Pat's reaction to the first drag race she ever saw?
Well, I thought it was fun, and I didn't know what he'd been, all the time he'd been saying how I wouldn't have liked him. Of course, he really had never participated in this type of racing either. Most of his racing had been on the street.
At Lake Wales is where the cars began to be towed. As we took more and more of the weight off of them, and I built a roadster to compete with Charlie. Finally, they couldn't drive them on the street anymore because you couldn't afford the luxury of seats and lights and generators and stuff, because we were lightening these cars up, and if you had all that stuff on there, you'd lose. We went to some of the races, and then we started to meet the people that we went to school with, and this was the nice bunch of guys that I told you that we got in with. It. We didn't talk about what we were going to do. We did what we felt we could do and let the guys talk about it afterwards. And we did form the Strokers Hot Rod Club. My wife and I were instrumental in that, and people like David Phillips and Benny Green, Alton Adams. These were the guys, Billy Herndon, Joe Herndon. We were all in the Strokers, and we'd meet once a week, and it was really a nice group. We didn't, this isn't the black leather jacket bunch that was getting into trouble. There was no drinking, no beer, and they had the girlfriends and wives, whoever they happened to be. We had little cards, and if anybody drag raced on the street, they couldn't go to the races in the club. And it was the beginning of the respectability for the sport, which is exactly what was happening on the West Coast, and that's what NHRA was doing. They were putting together these clubs with the same thought in mind, getting all the airstrips and all around the country for the young fellas and to race on.
The drag safari, the first touring NHRA sanctioning race, and all the hotshots in the Southeast were there. You remember that time?
Yeah, Lake City. That's a big turning point for me, because we'd always just race the local guys and we'd race Charlie, but then the word began to filter out from reading Hot Rod magazine. We knew what our times were because, we had clocks at these places, and we could tell that some of our times were being bettered by cars from other parts of the country. So when NHRA came down with their drag safari to Lake City, we were really excited about going up there and racing and competing against the guys from Alabama and Georgia and South Carolina and all over North Florida, Miami. They came from all over. Well, there was even, in fact, the guy I ran for top eliminator was from New Jersey. He'd come all the way down from New Jersey to run his car. So it was a very, very exciting race. In those days, top eliminator was everybody. The roadsters ran the dragsters, the coupes ran the dragsters, and finally was what they called overall top eliminator. And I emerged victorious at that race. We didn't think way into the future then. We were just having fun. We were going to the races. We liked to improve on the car, and it was at a party following that event that really spurred me to want to do more. When one of my real dear friends says to me, this is 1955 now, well, Donald, says, I guess you'll retire now that you've won the state championships. That's what we kind of considered that drag safari, the state championship. He says, because that's as high as you can ever go. He said, you could never beat the Californians.
Well, that's what you had to hear, right?
That's all I had to hear. And so I was...
Well, you built a new slingshot dragster and started touring Florida. In fact, you broke the first 170-mile-an-hour barrier, didn't you?
Yeah, in November of 1957, the Swamp Rat 1, it wasn't even called a Swamp Rat yet, it was just the Don's Garage car. We had our own paint and body shop then. and it went up to Brooksville, Florida, and went 176 miles an hour, and it was the first dragster to exceed 170. In fact, it broke the Speed Sports record of 169.11 that they had set a month earlier at the Davis Mountain Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona.
Swamp Rat, your friend Seto Postonian gave you that name?
Well, you know, in those days, the object was to try to get the money to race the cars. And in 1958, I had a really nice tour. The 176 mile an hour speed gave me tremendous publicity because we went out of Florida, we raced all over the country. When I say all over the country, not out west. In the Midwest, we went as far west as Caddo Mills and Great Bend. We won races. We won the AHRA National Championships. We set track records from one end of this country to the other. We won 50 straight match races that year, and we were getting tremendous publicity. It was like a Cinderella story. Here was a nobody from September of 1957 to September of 1958 was becoming a national figure in drag racing.
Yeah, and that got word got out on the West Coast about you, but the Californians really scoffed and dismissed you off as a fluke. And then came the Houston Challenge.
Well, that was in the summer of 1958 when the challenge came to Houston, and Lynn Hewitt put that race together. He ran the drag strip. I wouldn't go west, they wouldn't come east, so Lynn Hewitt says, we'll just have the race in Houston at a neutral ground. So they got me to come from the east, and they brought the three fastest cars from the west. Romeo Palomides with Pete Ogden driving, the Cambor Jado Special with Jack Ewell driving, which was the fastest car on the West Coast. It had actually reached 167 miles an hour. And then the Red Chase driving the Kegel Callahan rear engine top fuel dragster. And they lined them up on one side of the strip in a special pit area, and I took them on one at a time, racing each car and defeating them, and finally defeating Romeo Palomides' car in the final of the day. Had top speed, low ET, and top eliminator. They wrote in Drag News, it says, Big Daddy was the champion and still is the champion, and the record was 176, and it still is 176. In other words, what they wanted to do, they were going to come down there, and if they outran me and had top speed and low ET, they were going to officially say that the 176 was not real.
But you know they were all out to get you. There was really Garlits against the field, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. They lined them up on one side of the strip in a special roped-off area. And then they would put them out on the strip one at a time, and I would race each one.
It would take 3 starts with each one, too, remember?
Well, in those days, there was a flag, and you got 2 free starts, and so each guy would try to jump the flag, and we'd have to take the 3rd start, and we outran them one by one. I loved it. I thought it was just great. It was the highlight of my career. And, you know, because there wasn't anybody else. I figured that's as high as I would ever go. There weren't any national championships to speak of. I mean, and I'd outrun the 3 guys in a row. I was on top of the world. Little did I know what drag racing had in store for me and everybody else.
How did you get the name Swamp Rat? Where did that come about?
The Swamp Rat came about when I started driving his car and went to 18366 in Sanford, Maine. Seto Pastorian was there. But anyway, we outrun Seto, and Seto called Don the Swamp Rat, called me a green kid, and said, you know, if you guys will come to California, he said, in front of the world, I want to outrun you. So we went out there, and of course Seto didn't show up. And of course Seto's a dear friend of mine and Don's, but anyway, that never came to pass. So the promoter, it was at Riverside, the promoter had advertised this big match race, and Seto wasn't there. But all the Southern California killer cars, the Chrisman and Cannons and the Sear and Hoppers and all the real top flight cars were there.
What year was this now?
This would be 1959.
They had a 16-car field of fuel cars, and I showed up and competed in that event and won the event. It was still flag starts,
They didn't even have Christmas trees yet.
The promoter asked, would we run these guys one at a time? He said, sure.
You
Bring
mean
them
the
up.
whole field?
The whole
against one
field,
car?
one at a time. So I brought them up there, and we eliminated every car they had, anybody that wanted to race. Now I'm talking about now the guys that had been world record holders. Art Crispin with the Crispin and Cannon Hustler one, which was the car. Sear and Hopper, I mean, unbeatable.
So
car.
one at a time, you blew each California car down?
Blow them off one at a time.
Was this the place where they were throwing beer cans at you?
That's where they threw beer cans at Don. See, when he would follow me down in the Cadillac, the push car, they were throwing beer cans at him, and we just loved it, you know.
And it was highly successful.
And anyway, California took a liking to us shortly thereafter. That proved to them that there was no phony baloney to it.
Well, how'd you guys feel when you were killing everybody that first time out?
I don't know if we knew how awesome that was, you know. Don and I both, to some degree, have always been that way. We've just kind of taken life as it came, and you know, sometimes we hear people say, wow, golly. I don't know if we ever quite knew. I now that I have been out of it some time, I look back at it and I say, same thing, wow.